What's up, everybody? How the hell might y'all be making out? Thanks for tuning in to the Crash Bang Boom Drumming Podcast and what is a double-dipping episode of the week, or a twofer, if you will. And for today's guest, I have drummer Adam Nohe of West Virginia's Horseburner. Adam and I caught up during one of Horseburner's runs for their killer new record, The Thief, where they came through Brooklyn and were originally slated to play with Brooklyn's Godmaker, but a freak hip injury thwarted that lineup. Regardless, it was still definitely a killer gig, and they sounded absolutely awesome faux show. And speaking of touring and Horseburner, they are out right now for the whole month of November, and you can catch them all the way from Ohio to the northwest, to the southwest, to the south, and then back in Ohio. A lot of points in between. Check links in the description of the episode for tour dates and catch them if you can. They're kicking some ass and the new record rules. Crash Bang Boom Podcast can be found on iTunes Podcasts, my SoundCloud and YouTube pages, Stitcher, Luminary, Google Play, Podbean, and more. If you like what you hear, feel free to check out any of the previous 150 plus episodes or give me a like, a subscription, a positive rating, and or a glowing review, and or all the above. The support is appreciated. So without further ado, here we go. Adam Nohe, Horseburner, West Virginia. Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
Adam Nohe of the one and only Horseburner, West Virginia. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty great, man. Feeling pretty good. It's been a good tour run so far. One of the best we've done in a while, actually. So
Nice.
stoked to be back in Brooklyn.
Good for a band that's been at it for over a decade, but maybe hasn't put out the most albums over the course of the time. But at least you got one that I would certainly be proud of if I was in your shoes. And The Thief, congratulations.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. It's been a really slow-going process trying to get things rolling and kind of put our goals in the same area, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But 11 years in, and now we're doing it.
This technically would make it, I guess, the second full length that y'all have done.
Yeah, this is the second full length following 2016's Dead Sea Barren Soil, which
Gotcha.
we self-released.
Yep.
And I mean, even that was 8 years into being a band, so
Wow.
yeah, very, very slow going process.
My God. And you were saying it sounds like part of some of the complications in getting this one out as well. Y'all had some member changes and some change up, and so that's putting it lightly, I take it.
Dude, yeah. So our longtime bass player Rob, who actually lives in Queens now, God bless him, chasing his dreams now, which is awesome.
Gotcha.
He left as we were recording the 2016 album, and then we went through probably 5 or 6 bass players in the interim between people just, friends helping us out being cool, or people that were in the band but not for very long. We had a guy that did literally 1 3-day tour with us, and then he was like, I'm out.
Yeah. Wow.
Just-
Broke that quick.
Was not a road guy.
Holy shit.
But yeah.
Damn. Well, man, I guess once y'all solidified something of a lineup, how long was the process of recording this and releasing it, I guess?
The new record?
Yeah.
So we tried to tour as heavily as we could with real life, in the way over the past few years. And like I said, we went through a number of bass players who, for one reason or another, no fault to any of them, just couldn't keep going or whatever. From the last album to this one coming out was almost exactly 3 years.
Wow.
And yeah, so trying to write an album while you're constantly teaching new members the old
sucks.
songs. And, Jack, my guitar player, singer, who I've been in bands with since 2001 or 2002.
Damn.
Yeah. He was getting a little tired of all that.
I bet.
But once we finally got into it and started writing for the record, I feel like we got to focus, and we made it work.
Well, the proof is in the pudding, man. Once again, congrats. I think it's a great record. I know I was telling you before, but I'll reiterate it. I think that it was nice to hear a record where I could tell that some work was put into it, just between the harmonies, the transitions, so much of it. I can tell y'all really put work into it. So I imagine, especially for you, it's nice to see this thing finally come to fruition after all this time.
Oh, dude, it was amazing just to finally put some new songs in the set list live. Because,
Right.
I mean, we try to tour and play as much as we can, like I said. And to finally put some new stuff in was awesome. It was a long process, but I think it was a really rewarding process now that we're kind of seeing the fruits of how hard we worked. I feel good about it. I feel really good about it.
Nice. When it came time to track the drums for this record, I was checking out your kit. Awesome reissue Vistalite kit. We'll definitely talk about Ludwig's and vintage kits because I as well obsess over that stuff.
Excellent.
But what kit did you end up using and for the record for the Thief? And then tell me a little bit about your experience in recording that and like where'd you go, what studio, etc.
As we were talking earlier, I have 4 drum sets at home, which is probably too many. I've got a 1976 Ludwig 3-ply, 24, 13, 14, 16, 18, one of those old Pro Beat kits.
Wow, nice.
So I took in the 24, 14, 18 to the studio with us. And I also took my Vistalite, which is 26, 14, 18.
Right.
I play the Vistalite live because we used to do like the full stack thing, and we played a lot of places where the drums aren't getting mic'd.
Yeah.
And I'm a very loud drummer to begin with, but it was like, hey, I can get even louder if I play plastic drums.
Yeah.
Awesome, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then I ended up really liking the way they sound. They just project so much, and you got to admit they look cool too. There's that
they
aspect.
look fucking awesome.
But so we actually we tested both kits in the studio, Amish Electric Chair Studios in Athens, Ohio.
Right on.
Neil Turi is a good friend of ours who we tracked the drums and bass in that studio, and then we did everything else at our little home studio that Jack runs.
Wow.
But we ended up going with the Vistalite kit to track the album with.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we weren't sure because everyone was like, no, Vistalite sound horrible. And so Neil was like, okay, then we're definitely going to track that one because no one thinks we can.
Yeah.
And the drums on the record sound enormous.
Yeah, they sound badass.
We spent probably 2 hours on the snare drum alone getting the sounds in the studio.
Sure.
Because I don't know, I feel like a lot of drummers are just like, I'm going to hit the things and it's going to sound good and I'm going to trust the engineer. I'm super picky. I'm probably really annoying in the studio.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't like 90% of the way drums sound on records. Like I want something different. And we worked and we got it.
Nice.
And we were talking earlier, my Black Beauty snare drum, 14 by 6.5 that I got right before we went into the studio, 40 strand wires. That was the trick. I got exactly what I wanted out of the snare drum especially. So God bless you, Neil.
Absolutely. And it's funny, it's a distinction that I've made in talking to people that track drums or acrylic kits in the studio. I think the older kits were more problematic. I know I have one from the early 70s and in a close mic'd environment. You hear a little bit more of the imperfections in them and some of maybe the bearing edges not quite so solid. And with these newer kits, they're just sharper, more solid made, the kit that you're playing now sounds awesome. And I think you did capture a little bit of that kit on this record, which, hey man, props to you. If that's the sound you were looking for and that so happens to be your sound and you got it on a record and you can get it live, I'd say that you're doing some shit right.
Yeah, again, man, it was a process, but I think it was worthwhile. I used to have a 70s Vistalite as well, and I love the way that thing sounded, but like you said, the bearing edges were definitely not even, to say the least.
No.
And it was funny, I was selling that to fund a different purchase, and I took the heads off to clean it before I sold it, and the 13-inch tom literally split at the seam the night before I was selling it.
No.
So I had to message the guy. I was like, dude, I know you can fix this kind of stuff. Do you still want this? And he was like, yeah, just knock a couple $100 off. And I was like, all right, cool. That seems like a pretty solid deal. Like,
right.
We'll do it. I did love that kit. But yeah, the newer ones, I think they still have a cool vibe to them.
They do.
A cool feel. Because they feel different than wood drums.
Yeah, for sure.
And they sound really clean. Mm-hmm. And I think just powerful. And I'm a Bonham disciple.
Yeah.
So like most people in metal bands are tuning their drums down to like, sounds like a wet paper sack or whatever.
Right.
Mine are cranked like a big band drummer.
I mean, that's the Bonham thing.
That's my sound.
Yeah.
That I stole from other drummers. But that's my sound. And I think it works in what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
We tuned them down a little bit for studio playing compared to live, which it is what it is. Sometimes you got to make those little adjustments. But other than that, yeah. So definitely pleased with how the drums on the record came out.
Yeah, they sound great. And that's really cool. You said you did the guitars and vocals in at y'all's home studio?
Yeah. We've home recorded everything we've ever done.
Wow.
Until the drums and bass on this record.
Wow.
Yeah, everything. Because our old bass player was an engineer, and then he left, and Jack was like, oh, well, I'll learn how to do it. And then in a month, Jack was like an amazing engineer, and I don't understand how he learned it that quick.
Damn.
But he did, so
That's
kudos
impressive.
to that guy.
That's impressive. Yeah, I mean, I would say for bands, if by all means do what you can, and certainly vocals and even bass with plugins. It's amazing some of the plugins that you can get these days for instruments. But I think going to a studio that has a killer vibe, and especially a nice room, a nice sound and acoustic room, it's really hard to get a substitute for that. So if you're going to skimp on something, don't skimp on live drums.
That was the only thing that we didn't love about the last record. And again, Jack had been very recently introduced to the whole studio engineering world at that point, and his microphone collection wasn't anywhere near what it is now. But we didn't have a room to do drums in. We did it in his living room with couches up against the walls as bass traps and stuff like that. And no, so Neil has it's a small studio. It's pretty much one live room, but it sounds he built it.
Wow.
So it sounds so much bigger than it actually is. It's really well designed. And our bass player used to intern at that studio and was a student of Neil's when he was in college for an audio engineering program.
Wow.
We're a bunch of dorks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Neil's studio sounds good, and Neil's a wizard, dude.
Yeah.
And I got to shout him out because, again, I'm so picky, and I'm probably really annoying to deal with. But every time I come with things, Neil was like, okay, thanks. I like someone who's going to tell me, like, no, I want this, instead of just being like, it's fine.
Right.
And that's definitely not our style, is to say it's fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a lot of work, but we got it sounding good, and I'm really pleased with it. The bass drum especially, the way he did it, like mixing and matching different tones, because we didn't do any sample replacing.
Nice.
I'm really, again, annoyingly opposed to that, and I know it's a super normal thing that every studio does, but I was like, no, I want the drums to be my drums in the record.
Right.
And yeah, there's processing, yeah, there's plugins and all that stuff, but
Sure.
they're my drums. They're not samples.
Not mixed with samples or anything.
Nope.
Just really. I've tucked some samples in and tried to keep it as
Sure.
live as possible, but maybe to fatten it up a little bit, you know?
Sure.
I'm okay with that, but I understand. I don't want to go so insane or so far with it that in the end it just doesn't even sound like a real kit.
Right.
And then especially once you get into the world, depending on what kind of music you're playing, but certainly music that you play and I think music that I play, I prefer to have some feel with it, so I don't want everything overly quantized. If I'm like, give me the click, I'll play to it, but when we're playing back the music, I don't necessarily I don't need to hear the click. If I can hear that something is deviating, then we'll address it. But if we're all listening to it and we're fine, and if I deviated a little bit from the click, then fuck it.
So again, going back to just how unbelievably long we worked on this record, seemingly for us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Jack and I spent, I would say, a solid 3 weeks tempo mapping this record, because I wanted to play to a click, because it's a skill that I worked on a long time ago that, like, I can play around it.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to be intimidated by it and all that stuff like a lot of people get. And it's just because they don't have the experience of practicing with one or working at it. You can't just show up in a studio and be like, oh, I can play to a click, because that's not going to happen.
Right. I've heard guys be like, yeah, I'm just going to go in the studio, and then they'll tell me, like, we'll figure out what BPM it is, and I'm going to go for it. I'm like, dude, you are out of your fucking mind.
It's a dangerous proposition. If you can do it, then more power to you, man.
Oh, my God.
That was kind of how we did the last record.
Oof.
And then we realized, like, oh, there's a couple songs that it doesn't really work, and so we just did those free. And I think it turned out okay.
Yeah.
But we spent so long and didn't realize on this new record there were so many tempo natural fluctuations, and not just like a couple BPM. It's like, oh, no, when this change happens, we drop like 35 BPM.
Whoa.
So we spent 3 weeks working out, like, what sounds natural, what sounds comfortable. Can we bump this a little bit? So we still have this guideline. So it's funny, we worked really hard to make it sound like we didn't use a click.
Yeah.
And spent almost a month making the click tracks.
Right.
So that it would sound natural and not forced and not stiff. 'Cause
Yeah.
like you said, man, you want the feel there. You want the vibe there. I don't want to be quantized. And we didn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, there's one song, and I was really upset with myself about it. It started off with blast beats, and I haven't played blast beats in a long time.
Yeah.
And in the studio, I was like, I feel like that was kind of off. And everyone was like, no, I think it's just like the reverb where we are. I think it'll be fine. And then I listened back like 2 weeks later and was like, it's not fine. And so we had to do a little bit of moving of that one part. And I was really mad, but I got over it. Because that was the only part in the whole record.
One section out of what, 10 songs?
Yeah.
I'd say you're doing pretty good.
So I flogged myself, and then I moved on with my life.
Right on, man. To circle back to this run that y'all are doing, we have to mention the unfortunate events surrounding the drummer, our friend Jon Lane of Godmaker here in Brooklyn, who had a bike accident and broke his hip.
I love you, John.
Sorry, John, you decrepit bastard. Jesus, that is a terrible goddamn injury.
Dude, I was so bummed, and they haven't gone on tour for a couple years, and they were super
know.
excited, and we were so excited to hang out with those guys for a week, and then...
That's a great pairing between y'all and them. Makes perfect
dude.
sense.
Oh, I love that band, and I love the dudes in the band, and we were so ready for this, and then tragedy befalls, and here we are.
God.
So we're going to try, I'm going to say this now on record, like I really want to try next year to do a whole tour with them, like 2 weeks or whatever, to make up for this.
Yeah.
Because this sucks.
Yeah.
I'm really sad.
At a certain age, they'll say that it can lead to the end of you. That's how vital your hips are to movement. And I'm not saying
We're taking John out back behind the barn. We're gonna old Yeller John, and it's gonna be very sad.
He's got a road ahead of him of recovery and getting his hip back, and then playing drums with all the bouncing that it takes that generates from your hips.
Dude, and he's a killer player.
It's great.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
And he's so much fun to watch. So yeah, just more sadness that I don't get to see that every day for a week. You know what I mean?
I know.
But there will be a future tour with those guys because we love them.
How old were you when you first started playing drums?
My dad played drums as a kid.
Oh shit!
Long
Son of
story
a
short.
drummer father.
Right, and he was alive at the height of Beatlemania.
Wow.
And so he would talk about that, and I was like, that sounds so cool.
Ringo made everybody want to play drums.
Ringo's the reason I play drums. And people want to talk crap on Ringo, but dude had unbelievable energy.
Great
it's
energy.
62, 63, 64, whatever. Like, if you watch the early videos of Ringo playing, he is hammering those things. Like, the little stage risers he's on and those old, thin Ludwig flat bass stands, they are swaying in the wind.
Of course.
He is hammering away and smiling the whole time he does it. And singing, which, singing drummer over here, he's a big influence. But, that being said, I got a set when I was in, 4th grade, and I was a really tiny little kid. It was mostly my dad's kit, I think, because he hadn't played forever. I couldn't reach the bass drum pedal. It was sad. I didn't play. We sold the kit. 7th grade, I was like, we moved onto a street where I had a couple guys who got me into the underground scene and metalcore, and this band Zayo, who's from Parkersburg originally, but now they're from Greensburg.
Being West Virginia, where y'all are from.
Yes.
Okay.
And so if you get into hardcore in Parkersburg, you get there because Zayo led the way.
Wow.
And this band called the Minus Tide. Now we're friends with those dudes, and we worshipped them as kids, which is awesome.
So there was a little scene that were y'all going to shows when y'all are...
Yeah, I started booking shows when I was 14.
That's awesome.
But there's not much of a scene anymore. It ebbs and flows, but I mean that's everywhere we go to. You know what I mean? So 7th grade, I was like, you know what? I'd really like to try playing the drums again. And my mom said, absolutely not. You wasted last time. We're not doing it again. And Dad was like, yeah, probably not. Christmas that year.
Bam.
Drum set.
Nice. What drum set was it?
It was a Sonar, however anybody wants to pronounce that one. It was one of their Force 3000 kits.
Okay. What year is this?
2000, 2001-ish.
Okay.
Right around there.
Okay, I have a Force custom kit that I just rewrapped.
Oh, nice.
Well, I didn't rewrap it. It was a stained kit that I just dismantled
This one was stained.
and wrapped. I wrapped it with a sort of champagne sparkle-esque wrap, and it looks fucking awesome. I'll send you pictures of it.
Please
it looks
do.
Badass. Anyways.
So I got that Sonar kit. Throughout junior high and high school entirely, I played that kit. And a friend of mine bought the same kit, and then when they were like, I don't like drumming, I was like, I'll buy it, and made a big double bass drum.
Sweet.
I sold all that and got a little Pearl kit with a 20-inch kick drum. I was obsessed with Pearl drums for a while. When I was 15, I went to Nashville and got to tour the factory and all that stuff.
Really?
I was posting on the Pearl drum forum online when it first started.
Yeah.
2002, probably.
Damn, dude.
And, kind of fell off the wagon with that. It's been, what year is it, 2019?
Yeah.
It's been 17 years.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the way, I fell in love with old drums. I think a lot of it had to do with Ringo.
Yeah.
And then, and this is embarrassing, in high school, I didn't like Led Zeppelin because they weren't, punk. Because I was stupid.
Yeah.
And then I discovered Led Zeppelin for real. I gave them a chance and was like, oh, man, I've been missing out this whole time. And John Bonham is, the golden god.
Sure.
So I threw away my double bass kick pedals and just went to my single pedal, and I've been using it ever since. I had a Mapex. It was my first big kit with a big bass drum, and I loved that. And then I bought a Ludwig Classic Maple in Champagne Sparkle.
Nice.
26, 14, 18, which have become my ideal sizes.
Do you still have that kit?
No, I got a I got that 3-ply kit that I have, which is bowling ball blue oyster, which is
cool.
maybe my favorite finish of all time.
Wow.
It's a 76 granitone interior, 3-ply, re-rings. And I wanted cases for it because I didn't want to take that out and get it all worse. It's 45 or something years old like that.
God.
So
Yeah, I hear you.
So I sold the champagne sparkle kit to a friend who actually lives in Brooklyn now.
No way.
Who I think she has since sold that kit as well.
Oh, damn.
I sold on eBay for like 3 times what I paid for it, which is really
Your
funny.
kit?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's really funny because it's like, dude, that kit had so many problems.
Wow.
Yeah, so whoever's trying to sell it for like $2,000, you're not gonna get it. But like I got that kit on a deal because again, it was pretty messed up. The floor tom was out of round and all that stuff.
Oh shit!
It still sounded good though.
Wow.
It felt good, and so that was my first Ludwig kit. And then
Yeah.
it was just like game over. It's all Ludwig from here on out.
Yeah.
So I sold that kit to buy cases for the 76. Then I got the 70s Vistalite, which was clear. Loved that kit. Sold it to buy a bass guitar. Got my current Vistalite, which is what I tour with all the time.
Yep.
I also bought a couple years ago, and this is thinking about selling it just because I don't need this many drums at my house. It's a mixed 70s stainless steel kit.
Oh wow.
Converted marching 26, 16, 18 floors.
Yeah.
Converted marching 15-inch rack.
15-inch rack.
It's amazing. Someone
Wow.
made it to do a Bonham tribute kit.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, and it's the only thing I've ever played that's louder than the Vistalites.
Those kits, I have been in the presence of them, and they are the loudest drum sets I've ever heard.
And it's rich too. It's
Yeah.
not like with these metal shells because they're
No,
really
it sounds
thin,
amazing.
so it's still this rich,
Yeah.
boomy sound, and I love them. But I toured with that for like 2 years, and then I fell back in love with the Vistalites. And so the steel's been on a shelf in my basement for 2 years, and it's like collecting dust, and somebody else should probably play that.
Yeah.
So I'm a giant Ludwig nerd.
Yeah, I've become one. I bought my first Ludwig kit off of eBay when I ended up in New York after Hurricane Katrina from New Orleans, and I ended up staying in New York. And then my kit that I'd been playing down there, one of my friends brought it up, and then left it, and I just wasn't so crazy about the kit. And I was like, you know what? Because I had seen John Theodore in this band that he used to play with pre-Mars Volta. He played in this band Golden, and at the time he played the acrylic Fibes kits, the clear ones. Like I think Billy Cobham played them as well. And I just loved it when I heard it, and I always wanted one ever since I heard John Theodore in this small club playing it. Now, it helped that he was playing it because he's a bad motherfucker.
That dude's a monster.
Yeah, he's an absolute monster. But regardless, I was obsessing over it, so I just went on eBay and was like, I'm going to get this 70-some-odd, Vistalite kit, clear, got it. And I still have it to this day, and it's pre, I think, 75 because the lugs are smaller on the 12-inch tom than they are on the 13.
Yeah, because they used to do that according to size.
Right, exactly. I think at post 75, the 12-inch tom had the 13-inch lugs. Was it 75? Do you know?
I'm not that much of a historian.
So it's pre mid 70s. I know that much. But it is for all of it. It's kind of idiosyncratic aspects of it. It is a killer live kit for sure.
Oh, for sure.
And everyone that hears it loves it.
Yeah, dude. My friend Evan, who is the current drummer in Karma to Burn from Morgantown, West Virginia, he always played some of those Fibes acrylic kits, and they sound great. And again, it helps that he's the one playing them. Shout out to Evan because he's amazing. But yeah, I love acrylic drums, and I think a lot of people don't understand how to use them. I don't know if that's the right way to say it.
No,
you know what
I think so.
With all the comments we got, oh, you can't take those in the studio.
Right.
Well, we did, and it sounds cool. So
right. You talked about Ringo and then finding Bonham. Along the way, what have been some other drummers that still to this day, in hindsight, you're like, you know what, I've been a fan of this guy since I heard him.
So Ian Paice, Deep Purple.
Dude, you and me both.
Huge.
He is such a bad motherfucker.
Oh my God, he's amazing.
And
still.
It's still. And I mean, he's got to be in his 70s. I would think.
He's up there, man. We played in Connecticut a couple nights ago, and Deep Purple is literally 10 minutes down the road at a casino or something playing a show.
way.
And it was almost like, can we just go to that?
Yeah, right?
I hadn't realized that Ian Gillan and Roger Glover are still playing in Deep Purple.
Yeah.
I thought it was like Ian Paice and friends. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, I mean, Richie Blackmore hasn't played with them for decades,
Right.
and John Lord passed away, sadly, a few years ago. But they've still got 3/5 of the Machine Head lineup.
Right. That's amazing.
I'd pay money for that.
Fuck yeah. Dude, I even like the David Coverdale era shit, man.
Oh, sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Deep
Absolutely.
Purple's one of the best bands.
Yeah, Stormbringer is one of them. What is it? Come Taste the Band, I think, was a Burn. Burn is badass. Burn and Stormbringer, I really dig. And that's David Coverdale era stuff, and it rips. And once again, Ian Paice, the pocket, the tone, the chops,
The singles.
the solos.
The single rolls
Oh,
that
dude,
guy does
his
are
hands.
faster than...
He's the fucking Buddy Rich of rock and roll, man.
Oh, man, I love it so much. Got me all pumped up on Ian Paice.
Absolutely.
I was a big Dave Grohl fan.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
I was, 12, 13, like, oh, Nirvana's cool.
Yeah.
And again, like, he's a big Bonham guy. And
Totally.
so I learned early on how to do a lot with one right foot on a pedal as opposed to a double.
Yeah.
Listening to, like, Scentless Apprentice by Nirvana.
That's a
Trying to play
great.
that.
Oh, I love that. That intro drum thing rules.
Yeah, I thought I was playing it wrong because I was like, I'm using my foot too much. I was like, oh no, I'm doing it right. That's amazing.
Boo boo babu babu boo 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 babu.
It's so good.
Babu. It's badass.
This is really funny. It's kind of embarrassing, I guess, but I don't actually get embarrassed about music. Like, if you like it, you like it. If it's
Sure.
lame, whatever. I
Yeah.
don't care. Ron Welty, the original, I think, Offspring drummer.
Oh, yeah?
That's how I learned how to play D-beats.
Really?
Yeah. Those first couple Offspring records are really cool. Like, I haven't listened to them in a long time.
Right.
But they were really cool, and they were important to my formative years, and that's how I learned how to play a D-beat. So, cool.
That's cool.
But I loved all that stuff when I was a kid. Like, AFI was a big one. Offspring. I also loved, you get, those junior high bands, right? Like the Chili Peppers. Of
course.
They get a lot of shit talk. But,
Oh, dude, they get so much hate
but
these days.
Chad Smith
He's great.
is amazing.
He's totally badass.
I remember watching, maybe 2006, it was a Modern Drummer Festival, and Ian Paice and Chad Smith did a dual solo.
Right.
And Ian Paice does like 3 minutes of just like, oh my God,
Shredding.
what is happening? And then Chad Smith sits down and plays one beat. No deviation of tempo.
Really?
Nothing.
Yeah.
For 3 minutes. Doesn't hit a crash cymbal. Snare, kick, hats.
Yeah.
3 minutes. Stands up. Ian Paice goes, I can't do that.
Ah!
It was, it was like a computer. It was
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, he was always solid, and he has a lot of bombast, and
He really does.
I dig his playing. I always have.
There's a video on YouTube from like 92 of Chad Smith playing the national anthem at like a Pistons game.
Oh, I've seen that.
And he just like hits a bunch of drums and cymbals really hard, and the
Right.
crowd's like, I think we should cheer.
Yeah.
So yeah, as much as people will talk bad about the Chili Peppers, and sometimes rightfully so.
Sure.
I am a huge John Frusciante fan though.
You and me both, dude.
But Chad Smith is a great drummer.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on, man. So we're obviously talking about going to shows, and one of the recurring questions that I like to ask that always yields different results, aside from some of the other ones that I probably ask, is, when you're an early band going out and touring and doing it yourself, going out on the road, sometimes you can play some fucked up shows. What are some of your favorite fucked up shows that the band has played?
It's kind of hard to answer that. Like, there's so many bad shows, and that doesn't necessarily mean there weren't a lot of people there.
Right.
We didn't make any
I'm
money.
talking about, like, what is up with this venue? What the few people that are here, what the fuck is going on? It could be
man.
equipment meltdowns or all of the above on a single gig,
So I love to tell this story. We played a really cool festival in 2012 in West Virginia, and it was all independent bands of the state. Mm-hmm. And it was a really cool vibe all day, man, because it was just like all these people. And there's a guy who's been blowing up named Tyler Childers in the country scene from Kentucky, but he cut his teeth in West Virginia, and he is on that show.
Okay.
And it was, before anyone knew who he was, and of course he was amazing even back then. But there was one band, and they were a headliner, and they were like a little bit bigger than the rest of us, you know, like we're all nobodies, and they're like, oh, we've done like national tours, and we've had songs on the radio, and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, boy.
And I don't know, they just really rubbed me the wrong way. They didn't come out of their bus, and normally I would totally get that. If you're on tour, like you can't hang out with everybody all the time. I totally get it.
Right.
But this was especially for that kind of vibe, and I just felt like they big-timed everybody.
Yeah.
So the funniest thing was we played the show, is whatever. We actually had another show that night, so we had in Ohio, so we like played, stayed for a while, and took off for the next show. We're sitting there trying to sell some T-shirts, trying to sell some CDs, whatever. And this guy comes up to us and he's like, "Oh, do you guys have a Sharpie?" And we're like, "Yeah." And it always made us feel kind of weird if someone asked us to sign anything, because who are we? But I'm also not going to be like, no, because that's a dick move. So we get out the Sharpie and he goes, "Thanks, I'm going to go get this band's autograph," and runs away with our Sharpie. And we, like, full-on meltdown laugh attack. Like, I don't know if I've laughed harder than that, just because of, like, of course it was.
Yeah. Not so much coming to get your autograph.
No, which, again, totally fine by me. It's kind of weird, but it was just funny because it had to be those guys who have been dicks.
Right, exactly.
But, now, dude, we've played so many awful shows, but we take it in stride. We call them character builders. We've been paying dues for 20 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I ever achieve any level of success in music, I feel like I've earned it. 7th grade, first band I was ever in. Played a bunch of cover songs. Tried to play a Tool song after playing drums for like 4 months. That went well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We play a school dance. I don't know who thought this was a good idea either.
Oh, boy.
And we are so bad, we literally get booed off the stage.
Oh, my God.
And our singer's like on the ground, kneeling down, like, "Rah!" Screaming. And everyone thinks like, "Oh, man, he's getting into it." He's reading lyrics off the floor.
Nice.
That he taped down to the floor. So we get literally laughed off stage. As soon as I get down, my girlfriend at the time breaks up with me.
Come on.
And so I'm just sitting here at this school dance, like sitting on the floor, like, well, this is the life I chose.
You know what I got to say for her? What a bitch.
Nah, she's cool. We haven't talked in a long time, but
I thought you were going to be like, "Yeah, it's my wife now." I'd be like, "Oh, shit, man. I'm sorry, dude."
No. But no ill will towards anything like that. Like, kids are jerks.
Yeah.
I'm a school teacher. Like, kids are jerks. That's what they do. I don't hold any resentment for anything that happened when I was in high school or younger, because we were all jerks.
Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's been so many bad shows. We played Iowa last year. There was no promotion. There were no local bands. It was just us. 4 people watched us all night, but never at the same time.
Oh, wow. One person would come, then another, and then just...
Because the bar was on the other side of the wall.
Oh, my God.
And so, like, we played some songs, and we were laughing about it, having kind of a practice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was during the 3-piece tour when we didn't have someone filling in on guitar for us. And so this guy that we'd been talking to before the show started, who was like, "I'll be right back," came back as we played our last song, and he was like, "Oh, I missed you guys." So we started playing some songs over again.
Oh, nice.
We played some Thin Lizzy covers. It ended up being a pretty hilarious night.
Wow.
But yeah, it was just one of those things, like, here we are again.
Sometimes you got to laugh off the shit show.
We always do, because, I mean, it's either we can get mad about it or we can laugh about it. And if we're mad about it, then we're just going to be mad. What's the point?
Right.
It's all too hilarious. Like, none of this should be taken seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take the music seriously, but everything else, like, come on.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's rock and roll camp.
Yeah, man.
Only it's really difficult.
Yeah. Well, speaking of difficulty, so many people talk about touring and not so much maybe about what they have to do that would allow them to even go out to be able to tour in the first place. So what do you do to sustain yourself to be able to make these runs and follow the dream, brother?
So, again, I became a school teacher because I'd have my summers off, but then it was like, oh, nobody else in the band's a teacher, so that's not really going to help anything.
Yeah.
So I actually just resigned from full-time teaching.
Really?
And I've, again, God bless my wife, because she's the most supportive person and said, "Yes, you can do this, just don't screw me over here."
Yeah.
And so I'm substitute teaching again, which is a whole different set of challenges.
Right.
And I'm waiting tables for the first time ever. I never did food service. So, like, in my 30s, I decided I'm going to change everything about my life. So I'm working 2 jobs when I'm at home and just trying to make things work, because now, we were talking earlier, now that we have a lineup where all 4 of us are on the same page.
Yeah.
Because before, not everybody wanted to do the same thing. But we were all such good friends, and it's like, I'm not going to kick one of my best friends out of the band. Just, it is what it is.
Right.
But when he quit, it was like, if there's ever a time when we have a chance to really push this, now's the time.
Right.
So we're trying to tour as much as we can from this point forward. We did 2 weeks last month. We're doing 2 weeks this month. We're doing 3 weeks next month. We're working on some stuff for the spring. So, yeah, like, it's leave your house at 7:30 in the morning, get home at 11 at night, because I've been working 2 jobs literally all day.
Right.
But, you make the sacrifices to try to chase something, and that's what we're trying to do, is just chase it and see. And again, it's no expectations. We're not owed anything.
Right.
But if we can make something happen, if we work hard enough, we're going to give it our best shot.
I hear you.
Because why not?
Right. I mean, that's crucial, to not feel entitled and feel like go out and and
Oh, no.
and then be like bummed out. You're like, the fact that y'all can go out, play some shit gigs every now and then, laugh it off, then go home and bust your asses to go back out and do it shows just how dedicated y'all are and that you're willing to work for it.
Last month, we did this tour with our friends, our good friends, Indighost, a like psych rock, heavy fuzz, sexy rock band from Tennessee. And they're amazing, and getting to see them every night was amazing. Most of the shows on that tour sucked, and so I do like all the business aspect of the band and all that stuff. So I spent like every day 6 months booking 50 days for the fall.
Wow.
And working 2 jobs and maintaining a marriage thanks to a very patient wife and trying to keep my life together while doing all that. And we went on that tour, and it was like, I can't believe this is the result of how much work I spent on this.
I know.
And thank God for Indighost, because if they hadn't been on the tour with us to hang out with,
Right, just have some fun.
Yeah, we probably would have just, I don't know, sat in a corner and cried the whole time.
Yeah.
But then this tour in particular has been amazing. Like almost every show has been awesome. And so it's an ebb and flow. And again, like you said, there's no entitlement. There's no we deserve this or we're owed this, because that's a horrible attitude to take.
Yes.
We're just going to push it and see what happens. And it's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing, being away from your family and my dog. I miss my dog.
Yeah.
Being away from home isn't easy, but it's what I love to do, and it's something I'm willing to work at. And now we have 4 dudes in the band who all are willing to work at that. So here's to whatever happens.
Well, I wish you the best of luck going forward. Once again, congrats on the record. I'm glad y'all put in the work, and I think you got product to show for all the hard work. No shortage of hard work ahead of you, but hey, man, if you love it, you're going to do it.
That's right. We're going to work as hard as we can. And, shout out to Ripple Music in California for taking a chance on us. We appreciate that. They've been super easy to work with and super awesome people. And I'm going to get to meet Todd, the head of the label, here next month when we're out in California in person.
Nice.
So, yeah, dude, it's here's to the future, right?
Fuck yeah, dude.
Hell yeah.
Right on, man. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Adam for hanging. Always good to rap about vintage drums and drum collections. I know if I had more space, I'd be filling it out with drums. It's just the way it goes, folks, and that's why I need more space. Congrats to the Horseburner dudes on the killer new record, The Thief. Try to catch them on this run. It is absolutely worth it. They're kicking out the jams. We'll catch you all on the next Monday. Got a killer one for you. Crash, bang, boom.